We are very glad to have Tusta Krsna Prabhu with us, who will be speaking from the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, chapter 4, text 36, I think it is. And yeah, we are coming close to the end of chapter 4. There are some 6 verses left, I think, 6, 7 verses. And yeah, let's see what he has to say. I'll hand over to you, Hare Krishna. And if you have any questions, you can always type them into the chat box or wait until the end, until we have our Q&A. Otherwise, yeah, you can also share the recording, which will be put up on to our YouTube channel later on with your friends. And of course, you're always welcome to invite your friends to our programs. Next week, we will have Damodar Prasad Prabhu with us, and the week after that we will have Tusta Krsna Prabhu's dear wife Mangala, and after that we will have Amarendra Prabhu from where is he? Atlanta, and he will be speaking to us about. They will be speaking to us about the subsequent verses, and today we will be hearing about 436. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. First of all, before we go ahead, I want to say that's really nice to be here. Thank you also, Karuna Shakti, that you hold this or provide this space here for all of us. And yeah, I feel it's really a pleasure and an honor to be with you here. And also all of you who come here is always, I mean, you could spend your time in a different way, but you choose not to. You choose to spend your time here and inspiring myself and all the others who participate here. So I'm really happy that I can be here today. So Karuna Shakti, how do we go ahead? Do you share the verse with the screen, or how do we do it?
Well, if you have the verse ready, you can share it. Otherwise, I can look it up. I usually look it up and put the link into the chat box, but I forgot this time. So I can do that now.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll wait a little bit. And yeah. And how long do I speak? Is it like half an hour and then more interactive?
40 minutes if you want. It depends on you. We usually have a time frame of around 1 hour, but we can also do longer sessions if there are a lot of questions. So
I think it's good. Yeah.
It's up to you.
Okay. So Sumit posted the link already. But you are sharing, right?
I can be sharing, and I'm just opening the screen, and I'll be sharing my screen with you now, and you should be seeing it.
Yeah, it's coming up, I think. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. All right, so we start with reading the verse and then the translation. But first of all, let us chant and pray for empowerment. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad-gītā Ki Jai. Jai Nitai, Hare Krishna, finde ich zu sehen. So the verse is 436, and I'm going to read the Sanskrit. It's Apichet asi pāpebhyaḥ sarvebhyaḥ pāpa-kṛt-tamaḥ jñāna-plavenaiva vṛjinam santariṣyasi. I'll chant one more time. Thank you. Apichet asi pāpebhyaḥ sarvebhyaḥ pāpa-kṛt-tamaḥ jñāna-plavenaiva vṛjinam santariṣyasi. And I'm just going to read out loud the synonyms so that we get kind of an idea what these words mean. Api means even, Chet if, Asi you are, pāpebhyaḥ of sinners, interesting word, gonna get into that a little bit. Sarvebhyaḥ of all, pāpa-kṛt-tamaḥ, the greatest sinner, sarvam, all such sinful reactions, jñāna-plavenaiva, jñāna-plavena, by the boat of transcendental knowledge. Eva, certainly, vṛjinam, ocean of miseries, santariṣyasi, you will cross completely. And the translation is, if you are considered, even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. And I'm going to read the purport. Can you scroll down? Thank you. Okay, the purport is quite brief, but I feel very substantial. I mean, as usual, with Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada's purport goes like this. Proper understanding of one's constitutional position in relationship to Kṛṣṇa is so nice that it can at once lift one from the struggle for existence which goes on in the ocean of nescience. This material world is sometimes regarded as an ocean of nescience and sometimes as a blazing forest. In the ocean, however expert a swimmer one may be, the struggle for existence is very severe. If someone comes forward and lifts the struggling swimmer from the ocean, he is a great savior. Perfect knowledge received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the path of liberation. The boat of Kṛṣṇa consciousness is very simple, but at the same time, most sublime. And I'm going to read the verse again. Thank you. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. Om Ajnana Timidannasya Kiranjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachaline Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpa Tarupescha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Gaura Bhakta Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavad-gītā As It Is Ki Jai, Mittwochs Meeting im Tempel Berlin, online Zoom, zur Bhagavad-gītā As It Is Ki Jai. Thank you very much again for this. Thank you. I think that we don't need a screen. We can look at each other better like this. Thank you again for this opportunity to speak a little about Kṛṣṇa and also have a little interaction with you wonderful spiritualists here and devotees. I would like to deconstruct or take a little bit apart the verse that we just read and just build a little bit more clearer understanding of what it actually means. I think the verse makes quite a powerful statement. It says that, or there are also very powerful words in it. For example, the word sinner is a quite powerful word, and sometimes there's a feeling of like, oh, feels a little bit like a judgmental kind of term, and we can talk a little bit about that. And it's also saying that even if you're considered like not even a sinner, but even the most sinful of all sinners, and you can if you are transcendentally situated or in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you can be successful in in the path of liberation, or the path of yoga, and the cross over the ocean of material miseries, as it's written here. And I want to take this apart a little bit, and we will use Srila Prabhupada's purport as a basis for this. First of all, I would like to like put a little bit into perspective the word sinners. Sometimes, at least I feel still after all these years, when I read this word, I feel like, oh, this is a little bit a rough language. But what it basically means is that most of the people, or let me explain like this: most of the people that live on planet Earth nowadays are not, and I include myself in this, are not particularly qualified for spiritual life, like not very qualified to actually have a spiritual life, or to speak of being successful in a spiritual life. And why is that? And the word papa means, that's the translation here that Prabhupada chooses, is sinner. It means basically that you have done things and here the frame of karma comes into action. You have done things in your past that you could basically like put it under the headline of you hurt other people or other living entities. In some way or other, you caused some trouble to other beings in this world. And the effect of this is it covers your consciousness, your ability to see that every living entity is in its core a soul, and worthy of the same respect that you expect for yourself. And these actions also cover our ability to see a spiritual substance in a general way. So we cannot also not see clearly who are the other living beings and who is God and who is Kṛṣṇa. So this is what papa, or as Prabhupada translated, sin does. This is the effect of it. We get a blurry vision, and this makes it practically impossible to have a spiritual life, because we do not even see what is spiritual or what is material. We cannot keep it apart. So, but the verse here says that even though you are in such a situation, or someone might be in such a situation, and most people are, or most living entities are more or less in that category, not very qualified for spiritual life, you can cross the ocean of material miseries, or the ocean of miseries, which is like a metaphor for material life, if you're in transcendental knowledge. And I want to ask you, like, if you remember what's in the purport or what you have read so far, what is transcendental knowledge? And by the way, I will ask some questions during the presentation, or during this hour we have together. If you want to be in your own space, some of you have the camera off, don't feel pressure to participate, but if you want, you're very much welcome. I like you to participate. So the question is, what is transcendental knowledge? What is that actually? It appears you're speaking, but I cannot hear you nice.
I spoke to my wife, but now I switched on the mic. He said I should say something. And actually, because you asked what Prabhupada said in the purport, and I don't remember it, so therefore I don't know what he said about this, what you were asking about the boat of transcendental knowledge. I guess it's understanding that we are a servant of Kṛṣṇa, or a part and parcel of the Supreme. But I'm just speculating. I mean, of course, that is part of the transcendental knowledge, but I'm not sure if Prabhupada was saying that.
Thank you very much. It's exactly what you said. Prabhupada writes in the first sentence, proper understanding of one's constitutional position in relationship to Krishna is so nice, and then he goes on to explain the effect of that. So that's what it means that's his perspective, and here we can also see how expert Srila Prabhupada is in bringing forth a very like high understanding of what transcendental knowledge is, because you could also say it's just somehow knowing and even perceiving maybe that I'm eternal, I'm not this body. But he usually takes it further and says it's, yes, understanding that, but in relation to Krishna, there is a connection, and there's more than just being eternal, and that is what transcendental knowledge is. And of course, there are other types of transcendental knowledge. There is this, I'm a soul, but this most important aspect is that I'm a servitor of Krishna. And actually, you put it more specific. You said there's a relationship of service, and of course this can be more and more concrete as we read in the Gita, but mostly in Srimad Bhagavatam, that this relationship can become very specific, and this is actually the ingredient. So, and I think it's really important that we are very clear always, as far as possible, on what transcendental knowledge actually is, because it seems to be from this verse, or in other places it's also said like this is like the game changer. So we are in an unfortunate position, and we could even be we can get into this also now, like the most unfortunate position. We could be unqualified for spiritual life, but here it even says the most sinful of all sinners, like the most, we are in a very like unqualified, extremely unqualified position. But if we have that, if we have this, so to say, magic ingredient, then we are somehow on a different track, and we can cross over the ocean of material, of nescience. And I really feel that we can see also in our spiritual communities, among devotees of Krishna, and also in I would say also in other spiritual communities, that we see many different people who are very serious about spiritual life, and who come from all kinds of backgrounds, like some, super sattvic brahmanas from, who grew up in a temple complex in South India and never saw meat being cooked, what to speak of smelling, touching, or eating it. And we see other people who grew up in a European city, and maybe up to their 50th year never heard something about spiritual life, but then they heard about it, caught some fire, and like went into it. And we even see people who like have very troubled pasts, like having to do with drugs or with violence, like for a major part of their life. And at the same time, you can see, like in all of these people, you see in the spiritual community, you see a seriousness towards spiritual life. Like they want to progress in spiritual life. They want, specifically in our community, they want to serve Krishna, and they make like serious endeavors to do that, and to get better, and to connect with devotees. And this is quite, I feel, really remarkable, and actually also a proof of what Kṛṣṇa is saying here in the Bhagavad-gītā. It doesn't really matter what your external circumstances are. And with external circumstances, I also mean what the situation of your body or your mind, or like your psyche like your mental condition is. It matters in a way, and we can also maybe later talk a little bit about that. But basically, like on a very basic foundational level, it doesn't matter who you are for spiritual life to be effective for you. And we learned this in other writings of the acharyas, Srila Prabhupada and Srimad Bhagavatam, that basically only the desire to connect with the transcendence is, and specifically with Kṛṣṇa, is what is deciding whether you have it or you don't have it. And again, having a spiritual vision, having a spiritual perspective, means you're crossing over the ocean of miseries. And let us look into that also a little bit. What is the ocean of miseries? Like, what does that mean? Any idea from you guys?
Prabhu, I just want to give a small input. Like in the Mangalarati in morning, it says like Sangsaro Davanalo. So that means this material life is like forest fire. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. It's also what Prabhupada brought up in addition to this ocean metaphor. So there's two ways of seeing it. And I would be interested now, what does it actually mean? Like it's a metaphor for something very concrete in our lives. What does it mean?
I have an idea. I think it's like searching for happiness, but actually, not finding it practically, because before we said that we are connected with Kṛṣṇa, and the ocean of miseries is if you're not connected with Kṛṣṇa. That means, and you are searching for the happiness in different ways, and even if you have like some happiness or there's some good circumstances in your life, still it's not fulfilling like what we are actually, or we don't experience the bliss or the happiness we are actually supposed to experience. And of course, and then it's because ocean, it's also like there's different streams, or like how you say, like different turbulences, and so it's also the samsara dharma. It's the cycle is there. Like it's you can have good times, but you're also getting in worse times and bad times, and like in this sense, it's the ocean. It's very, very big and very, very broad, and there's different varieties of miseries practically also.
Thank you, Jnāna. Kainagirish, did you also want to say something? You switched on your camera. Did you want to say something? Not at the moment. Thank you. Thank you, Jnāna. I think you really brought up an important aspect also. There is also some kind of pleasure. You know, there's not only, like, if you say ocean of nescience or ocean of miseries, sometimes that can feel like, this is a little bit like, you know, over the top. It's an overstatement. You know, it can, especially to people who are not used to this kind of language, it can feel like kind of nihilistic and you know, rather a negative outlook on the world. But the perspective of Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam, it recognizes there is pleasure in this world. There's different gradients of happiness, but at the same time we have as a soul, because the nature of the soul is Satchit, and here most relevant Ananda. It wants complete fulfillment, and it's not by nature, it's not satisfied with any degree of mixed happiness or limited happiness or happiness that might soon end or is mixed with something else. So there's always this struggle. Can I not have a better life situation? Can I not have a better partner? Can I not have a better job? Can I not have a better education? Can I not have better kind of jobs? And there's always this tension in the background, and I have not met anyone who can honestly say I'm completely content with everything. I have not met this person, except some. Well, I have met some devotees who are happy with their spiritual life, but with the material affair of things, I have not met this person, and that's also what this is what this metaphor is referring to. It's an ocean, or it's a blazing fire. You put out fires, maybe you have a little water, and some of us have big buckets of water. They have maybe specific skills to make life a better place for themselves, but it's just buckets. You would need like a rain to extinguish a forest fire. So this is really an important step to recognize when we are sometimes in our day-to-day lives we get in such a in a kind of cringe. Oh, it's exhausting, and my colleagues and my neighbors and I have a headache, and there's like often we have these situations where we feel just stressed out, especially during like work days. And it's important to like find this inner like switch and step back and say, okay, that's normal. It's normal that I am, as a tiny soul, overwhelmed by the material world, and I should connect with transcendental knowledge. So, but what one important question is, how do we get it? Now we have analyzed, okay, even if we are in a very bad shape, like a dented can, so to say, we can really be successful if we have transcendental knowledge. We can overcome all these obstacles and boundaries that we encounter in our lives and actually find fulfillment. But and we also found out what it is. Transcendental knowledge. It's a service perspective towards the absolute truth. And now it's really important to find out, how do we get it? And of course, there's different answers to this. And I want to point out one important one, since we're on the 4th chapter. 2 verses before this verse comes a verse which basically says, if you want transcendental knowledge, go to those who have it, and connect with them in a service attitude. Connect with spiritualists, transcendentalists, and have an open mind, inquire from them, have spiritual sangha, meet with. For us, this means go meet with devotees, talk about Kṛṣṇa, and be inquisitive, be open, like bury your ego, at least for the time being, and just connect with these people, and honestly, like soak in, take in what they have to say, what their questions are about spiritual life. So this is one basic source of transcendental knowledge. And if we connect with devotees, we can actually have this experience that I am a servant of Kṛṣṇa, and these other things, they're not so. Yeah, it's a forest fire, but in a way, I'm not really part of this of this forest. So it's okay if it burns a little here and there. I'm navigating it. I use my buckets to like navigate my way, like put out the fire here and there so that I can walk through it. But I don't have to like extinguish the whole forest fire. That's not my job, and it's also not something that's possible for me. And from this perspective, like if you're really serving in this service attitude, that's easy, and then it's possible to cross over. So that's basically the philosophical message of this verse, or at least from what I drew out of it. And also Prabhupada, he points this out, that if you are in this ocean, then he says, if someone comes forward and lifts the struggling swimmer from the ocean, he's a great savior. So if we, that of course refers to the spiritual teacher, a spiritual master, and how fortunate one is to come in contact with such a person. But also in general, if you can meet with devotees, like meet here and have this opportunity to discuss a little, then this is a great fortune and an opportunity. And it's not something we should take lightly. Some of us may be thinking, okay, well, I again go to the temple program this Wednesday, as I always go, and it's not such a big deal. I'm not a great transcendentalist, one may think, but I do this small thing. It's not a small thing at all. It's the thing, meeting with other spiritual people and with devotees and discussing about Kṛṣṇa. It's actually that you're doing this is actually proof that you are already quite advanced on this path, because on a weekday at 7 p.m. there's many other things the mind could come up with, like resting, watching TV, eating, sleeping, talking, watching football games. I know football games are not on anymore, I know, but so many things, or working, or worrying, or there are so many other things. But we come here and do this, and I think this is really, it's also, we should also see that we are already doing that. That's really nice. All right. So one thing I would ask you also, what would you think are other ways to get to this platform? What works? Maybe you can also share, if you like, if it's not too personal for you, what works for you. How do you get into this position, like from like a really like practical hands-on perspective, to have this transcendental perspective on a day-to-day basis? Although also what works in general, you can answer in both directions. What works? Anything, any idea? Not idea, I'm sure you have more than ideas, you have experience, but maybe anyone wants to share his or her experience. What brings you to the spiritual platform?
Howdy, boy. I have some experience. I mean, what helps me actually to see Kṛṣṇa as a person is doing the worship of Kṛṣṇa in a deity form or in a picture, because then it's, you offer something to Kṛṣṇa, and you see him as a person. And I mean, it's of course not a deep realization. It's actually Kṛṣṇa's, in that sense, I think he's very easily approachable also, because of course you don't see Kṛṣṇa like he's like acting something, but you also see that it's not just dull matter. where you put your offering, and that there is some reciprocation or some that Kṛṣṇa is there, and it's not something you just imagine that you can feel, and that actually everybody can see. Also, if we go to a temple where there's nice worship of Kṛṣṇa, also then we can also see like how devotees put their bhakti in there, and this bhakti is practically coming out again. That's one thing. And then if I worship this Kṛṣṇa, and that helps for myself also to have this, to see Kṛṣṇa as a person, or to see me actually also as a servant of Kṛṣṇa.
No, thank you for sharing this. Very powerful. Any other experiences anyone wants to share? What helps you to become, to get on a transcendental platform and have a little overview and a little bit relief from the ocean of nescience? Okay, then I'm going to share. Sumit, you just wanted to say something.
For me, it's like the association with the devotees helps me a lot. Let's say last Sunday, I was at Olivia Mataji's place, so we did some bhajan kirtans, and the next day I can feel the quality of my chanting is totally different from the other days. And it's also like today I am having association with all the devotees, senior devotees, and tomorrow I can feel it. I can feel when I am chanting, but then it starts degrading day after day. That's my experience.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to share something? I think what is really a powerful element that I see in both, what you both share, is that it's a regular practice, like regularly, like in the morning, or worshipping the deities of Kṛṣṇa, or regularly associating with devotees, and it keeps kind of or it builds up a level of spiritual power or spiritual vision that one has kind of maintained. It's also my experience, and for me it's also I also very much like to have this time, also even if it's a small time in the morning, to worship my deities of Kṛṣṇa, and it makes it very practical, and I also have this experience that it situates myself in a service attitude. And what also really helps me is somehow I have this patience and luck to find time, even though I'm working full time, to chant like Maha Mantra, and actually chant 16 rounds. And this is really carries me through life. It's amazing. Sometimes when especially today, I had a situation. I was really like tired and not motivated to do anything basically in the afternoon, and I even slept a little after lunch, and didn't help, made it worse. And so I was just like, okay, what do I do with my time now? Clock's ticking, like, and so I just said, okay, let's just chant. Whatever. The material ocean is too turbulent at the moment, or the fire is too close. Let's just chant. And this is just amazing how this helped. I just chanted for like half an hour, and it's somehow I managed to find like the peace of mind to actually like to actually go into it, dive into it, and to not have so many other thoughts, and it's always surprising for me how powerful this is. Like, I mean, in this situation, when one is confused and like doesn't have much clarity, and just chanting a little, like 4 rounds of the Maha Mantra is it's basically ridiculous how powerful this is. And afterwards, I had a completely different vision. I was inspired. I knew what to do. I knew what is up and what is down, and I had energy again. Although the body still felt a little sluggish, but my mind and heart, they were clear. And I also felt connected again to why I'm actually doing things. That's why I want to be a devotee of Kṛṣṇa, and my life should be an offering towards Kṛṣṇa. And everything made sense again, just after a few rounds of chanting. So this is, it's just amazing, again and again. So chanting is certainly very powerful. And I thought if there's no, maybe we can open up for questions or comments at this point, and see if there are some comments or questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Because if you see the verse, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. And I sometimes wonder, because we're getting in contact with Kṛṣṇa consciousness, and we practically accept, okay, Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are His servant, and we are eternal spiritual soul. But yeah, what does it mean? Because yeah, sometimes we are not in this consciousness as a neophyte devotees. Sometimes practically we are not sitting, and then I wonder, if are we sitting sometimes in the boat and sometimes not, or is it like if you're once understood it on a certain level, then Kṛṣṇa will help you to come back, or is it or how is it then also it's explained in the Nectar of Devotion? There's this different. I'm sorry, I got a little bit distracted from crying. The child hurts my heart. The miseries of the material ocean. No, but we hear there's these 9, this Shraddha, Bhajana, Kriya, these 9, the process of devotional service, practically from faith to prema, practically. And so how is this connected? I mean, of course, it's maybe a little bit broad, this question, but yeah, I just wanted to ask or bring it up, because I wanted to hear your ideas, and maybe there's not this answer, but yeah, just that was what came to my mind, or comes to my mind when I read this passage, like how is it meant, and am I already in the boat or not? That's my question. Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing this up. 3 points come to my mind when I think about this question. The first is that I see. Now let's start with what's established by the devotees. The first is that there is this stage called nishta, which means steadiness, and this is comes after this bhajana kriya, where we like make a serious effort towards moving towards Kṛṣṇa and moving or getting into the boat, if you want to stay in this analogy. And after that, this phase of nishta or steadiness in devotional service comes. And devotional service here, this means transcendental knowledge. You have it. One way to understand is that then you have like a continuous stream of transcendental consciousness, so to say. You're just there, and you don't go anywhere. You don't like drop out of it, so to say. Another understanding, which I also heard from, I believe it was Adipurusha or Madhavananda Prabhu, I'm not sure. One of them explained like this, probably Adipurusha, that this is this can also be seen, this nishtha state, the steadiness state, as a, not in this way that it's a continuous in terms of like time, but in terms of robustness, robustness. That's that there are far less events that can bring you out of it, because it's like sturdy and strong, and you're like fixed, and this is a kind of steadiness. It's not like that you're always in it, but you're more sturdy from this time on. And this was actually my first point. This is also what, at least my experience, also what I see in other devotees, that these gaps where we are in what we sometimes say in Maya, or in have a material consciousness, which is basically just normal for us, where these gaps get a little bit like shorter. It's more brief. Like you're not in Maya for like lifetimes anymore, not years anymore, and sometimes it's, and at some point it's not weeks anymore. It becomes shorter and shorter. That's one other thought I have on this. And yeah, and one other way is that it's after some time it becomes, that's basically the same way of saying it, becomes a steady stream. We are just there. At the same time, what comes to my mind is maybe not the direct answer to your point, is another aspect, which is the relationship to Kṛṣṇa. And Satyanarayana Swami sometimes says it like this, that we might forget Kṛṣṇa, but he doesn't forget us. And this state, or this situation that now this soul is a devotee, changes everything. I might be in material consciousness all day, like working, doing stuff, worrying, and not think so much about Kṛṣṇa or myself as being a servant. But Kṛṣṇa always pulled me back, as soon as there's like a little bit air to breathe, my consciousness, by Kṛṣṇa's mercy, goes back there, and you're like completely there already. Chanting gets more deep by the years. That's what devotees also experience. There's a much like smaller threshold. You just step into the zone, like doing spiritual activities, chanting or reading Bhagavatam, and like click there, and it's much more deep than some years before. So this is also a kind of, it gives me some hope. Maybe that wasn't so much your question, but I connect this very much with this kind of doubt, which I also have. Like, is it, do I have to always think about Kṛṣṇa 24 hours a day? Ultimately, that's what we read. That's the goal, to always be connected with Kṛṣṇa and never forget him. And there's also this story with well, let me think properly. I think I cannot get, maybe someone else remembers this story when Narada Muni I think he asked. No, I don't feel comfortable sharing stories which I don't remember properly. There's a story with Narada Muni who asked Kṛṣṇa something like remembering or who's a good devotee, and then he. Okay, it was like this. This much I remember. Who's a nice devotee? Some question like this. He asked Kṛṣṇa, and Kṛṣṇa sends him to a farmer, and he thinks of Kṛṣṇa like, somehow Narada Muni finds out he thinks of Kṛṣṇa 3 times a day. Like he's working all day on the field, and he thinks of him 3 times a day. And somehow Kṛṣṇa expresses that, and this is the part I don't remember properly, that this is a nice devotee. This is a devotee of mine. Somehow Narada Muni cannot quite believe it, that this is the case, And then Krishna sends him like to walk around somewhere with like a cup of water on his head. Does anyone remember this story? And somehow Narada Muni finds out at the end of this whole thing, he didn't think once about Krishna. He just thought about like balancing this cup of water, and then somehow he got this. Okay, Krishna, this is to actually think of you is sorry, maybe that wasn't right to bring the story. I cannot remember the exact point being made, but Krishna appreciated this farmer devotee very much, who just thought of him 3 times a day, but he did think of him. That's also important to mention. Yeah, long answer to yeah, also a big question. Maybe some other thoughts on this? Anyone? Well, or any other question? If there's no other question, I thought we could just briefly share a nice pastime which I recently read. It's a little bit connected towards the topic of today, and it's a pastime with Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who was staying in Navadvip after the time he went on tour, so to say, with Mahaprabhu, after actually he took kind of to the renounced lifestyle, say like this. But then again, he came back to Navadvip. He married and he shared Krishna consciousness with all the devotees there, and there were also and he also, yeah, there were many pastimes with Lord Nityananda, and I want to share one of them in this situation. And there was, and one has to know at this time Nityananda Prabhu was always dressed in a very like gorgeous manner, and he had like nice clothes, and he had ornaments, and he had a kind of a silvery kind of staff, like a metal rod which was silver, and it had some ornaments, and he was always carrying this staff around. So he was a little bit like extravagant, and he had nice facilities for life, so to say, and it was very opulent. And there was one thief who was observing Nityananda Prabhu, and he made up his mind. He was actually not a thief. He was a robber. Like he was. This was his way of life. He robbed other people and also killed them actually, and after robbing them. So he was very like, we would say a bad person. You know, like robbing people is one thing, but also killing them, and you know, I guess that's part of the business, because then no one can trace back where you have your den or whatever. But that's what he did, like robbing, killing people. And he made up his mind, okay, I'm gonna rob this Nityananda. He has nice ornaments, and he seemed to be quite rich. Probably in his house there's more. So he made up his mind. He had also a gang of robbers, and they were of a similar nature. And actually, he was previously a brahmana, like a kind of a priestly kind of figure, but somehow due to circumstances, he fell into this lifestyle of a robber. And yeah, he made up his mind. Okay, let's go for it. Let's rob this Nityananda. And one night, he and his gang came to the house of Nityananda. And it was just before dark, and they thought, okay, let's wait here in the woods until the lights go out and everyone goes asleep, and then we will like move in and do our thing. And so they sat there, and they all fell asleep. So they just slept. And in the morning they woke up and yelled at each other, what were you doing? You were supposed to keep guard and stay awake and keep us awake. So they went to their hiding place and thought, okay, next night we will do the same thing. So they next day or next night they came again, lurking in front of the house, and suddenly they saw a group of very powerful warriors in front of Nityananda's house. They were effulgent, they were looking like gods, and they had ornaments, they had divine, powerful looking weapons like swords and spears who look like, crafted by the elves or by whomever. And they somehow had the vibration of, one of these guys can kill 100 of us easily. And they were like 20 of them. And so they thought, oh, what's going on here? Maybe this Nityananda has some guests from a king, or this is not a good day to attack. So let's leave. So they left again and made up their mind, okay, tomorrow things will be different. Tomorrow is actually they worshipped goddess Kali or Chandi to get blessings for their move, because they know something is off, something's not working here. So we need to pray to our goddess, and so that we can offer her a proper theft and robbery. And so they did their puja, and they dressed in their best warrior outfits. They put on some more weapons, some more swords, some more knives and daggers, and masks, and proper, like, probably some leather shoes or whatever. And they came again, and this time no one was there at the house, apparently. Of course, Nityananda was inside, so it went dark, and they approached the house. And the moment they entered the property, somehow a heavy thunderstorm broke loose. There were like kind of extreme rain. They could hardly see. It was extremely cold suddenly. And there was ice, there were thunders and lightnings cracking down next to them. And it was just loud. And also it became so dark that they could not see the house anymore. They could also not see like in which direction to walk. They could not see each other anymore. And additionally, they fell into some kind of ditch where there were thorny plants, like twigs with big thorns, and some insects were also there, and they were just falling into these ditches and just suffering miserably in these holes and in the mud, and just screaming, "Oh, someone save us, this is horrible, what is going on?" And they just wanted to get out of there, but they couldn't. And then this leader, this Brahmana, or like former Brahmana, somehow realized in his mind, this Nityananda, it must be the supreme absolute truth. What is going on here cannot happen by any ordinary means. I clearly feel in my heart that this person, this Nityananda, is somehow magically controlling the whole situation. And it's not the kind of magic that I'm used to in my worship of Kali, that somehow things go my way and it's kind of, it's mystical. Somehow in my heart, I know this Nityananda has everything under control, even my very breath and my very life. And so he realized that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he started actually in his ditch, hanging in between these thorns and thunder still going on. He started to pray to Nityananda, "Please save me." And at this moment, all this stopped, and they ran home. And so everyone got, actually his friends, or they're not really friends properly, his colleagues, they joined in. Some of them joined into the prayer. He heard him pray, and they felt the same, and actually also prayed to Nityananda. And somehow the weather got better, and they left and got back to their hiding place. And the next day, this robber leader, he came to Nityananda, and he met Nityananda at a place where Nityananda was with many devotees. And Nityananda was I don't quite remember in the pastime what he was doing at this moment, but he was with many devotees, and it was bright daylight. And this robber, he came, and all the people in the village, they knew who this person is and what he's doing to earn his livelihood. And they see him approaching and like looking at him a little bit like, what's he doing here? And Nityan and this Brahmana was totally amazed. He saw on this day, he saw Nityananda, like he actually saw that he's the supreme absolute truth. And he could see this in his he had transcendental knowledge, so to say. And Nityananda looked at him and said, "Oh, what are you? What happened to you? You look so astonished. Did something specifically astonishing happen to you? What's going on with you?" And he was smiling at him, and this completely like melted the heart of the robber, and he fell down and begged for forgiveness of Nityananda, and this was a very like Nityananda excused him for his way of life and for his attempts to rob him, and he said to him, "No problem, all right. You're now properly situated. You now have a proper vision of life. You see spiritually now. Please just stop this kind of lifestyle and go back to your gang and tell them about what you see now. Tell them about the absolute truth. Tell them about spirituality." And the Brahmana did that and actually started sharing spiritual life with his gang, and I'm sure he found, actually it's written there, but I don't remember anymore. I think I'm sure he found another way of livelihood, earning his livelihood. So this is a very, I think this, I very much like this pastime because it highlights so much how, especially Nityananda is so kind to like, you know, they didn't even approach him with some kind of prayer, or they actually wanted to do him harm. And he just like playfully engaged them in his proximity, and they had their experience there, and he playfully brought them to a realization that life is not about crooked means of ruling or controlling one's own life, but it's about surrendering to the Lord and serving. And they didn't have a good qualification. They were like killers, basically. And this pastime is recorded in Chaitanya Bhagavad. This actually happened, and this highlights how Kṛṣṇa actually deals with people who come close to him in any form, and this makes me very much hopeful that, and I'm closing here, we are over time already, that we can connect to Kṛṣṇa. And we found out much better ways to connect to Kṛṣṇa. We don't want to kill him or rob him or anything like that. Most of us will try to like chant the Maha Mantra or read in Srimad Bhagavatam, associate with devotees. And if we even do that with the intention to connect with Kṛṣṇa, then we always have this benefit that we will progress in spiritual life. So I mean, all the more we just have to connect, and that's basically what we have to do. We don't have to worry so much about how qualified we are or what we are doing and not doing. The main point is just connect with Kṛṣṇa, just again and again connect in the morning with rituals, with chanting, with reading, and just doing it, and that will bring us forward. Okay, so I'm finished. Please excuse me for going a little over time. I just wanted to give some context to this lila, to this pastime, and I'm handing over to So Kṛṣṇa Shakti, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this lecture, but we are not yet finished. There is a question that has been sent to me privately, but yeah, it's I think it's a public question. Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'm Devavrata. I'm 11 years old. Please accept my humble obeisances. I wanted to ask, I try always to maintain all of the Krishna consciousness rules, like chanting 2 rounds, honoring prasadam. I want to know which is my next step to be closer to Krishna.
Well, thank you very much, Devavrata. Devavrata was the name? Yeah. For your honest question. You're 11 years old, did I hear that right? Amazing. Thank you very much for your honest question. Generally speaking, the most important thing in this, when we have this question, how can I move forward in spiritual life, is to keep the question alive. Already having the question is really a good sign. You're doing well. I mean, if you have this question, that is already you're halfway there, actually, because Krishna in your heart, of course he listens to your question and to your aspiration. So he definitely knows that you have this question, and he will send answers. And actually the basic thing is just to keep asking the question, never stop asking this question. And this is actually true for all of us. Actually having this question means to be alive, and not having this question means to be spiritually, at least, dull and a little bit asleep. And if we have this question, we are alive, we are vibrant, we have some kind of clarity in our life. And yeah, just keep the question alive, and Krishna will send you answers. And more specifically, what you can also do, ask devotees around you who know you well. Just talk to them what they think, because they know you, they know who you are, what person you are, and they observe you. Just ask them and listen. And listen what they say. That you will be surprised. They know the answer actually quite well, usually, the devotee. I don't know you personally, so I don't want to give any specific answer, but I give this general answer. And I think this is very valid for all of us. And also the other general answer, we should always approach devotees who are close to us. And also, if we have a spiritual teacher, that's of course these kind of questions we should ask our spiritual mentor, if we have one, or if we have maybe not like formally a spiritual master, we certainly have people who we look up to spiritually, and we should open our mind and heart and actually listen what they have to say. Thank you for this question.
So if there is no other question, then there is a short announcement. We prepared a little poster because we were so excited that we already know the next 3 speakers, that we made a little poster that you can download using the link that I just sent via the chat, or you could also just look at the screen, which I will be sharing with you. That is the poster for the events of the upcoming weeks. We will have various speakers. Damodar Prasad Prabhu, you might remember him. He was speaking some months ago, not so long ago actually. Mangala, who will be speaking to us, she you may know, most of you will know her as a member of our congregation. She is also very knowledgeable, and we might have, or will have definitely, Amarendra Prabhu, that's him. He, by the way, I just looked up his biography. He has 2 master's degrees, one in electrical engineering and one in business administration, which is, even having 1 master's degree in one of these fields is too much for me. I don't know the basic things of electricity. I just know it comes out of the power outlet in the wall. More is everything that goes beyond that is too complicated. So he obviously has a big brain, and he is also a very popular speaker, and he has been requested by some members of the congregation to speak. So that is why we have invited him, and he was so kind to reply very quickly and be very flexible, and he will speak to us on May the 19th, meaning in 3 weeks' time. So we are very glad to have all these nice speakers in the upcoming weeks, and we hope that you will be part of the crowd again, and maybe invite all your friends and relatives and stepchildren, etc., to come and listen. And of course, we would like to thank Tusta Krsna Prabhu for speaking to us today, some very nice, practical and relevant words. And we thank all of you who have joined us tonight, and we hope that you also enjoyed this evening or learned something or feel inspired by this, and that this will carry on at least until next week. And we wish you a good evening and a good night. Hare Krishna. And Lika Shavanti writes, thank you, Tusta Krsna. Would be nice to hear from you soon here.
Thank you very much. Thank you also to everybody for engaging and for this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.